God knows where we're going here. Oh my God. You know what? You know what? Hey, Kellen Moore's the problem. This is what I heard today. Kellen Moore's the problem. Rust. Numbers don't matter. Hey, if the quarterback plays like shit, that don't matter either. He just wins. It doesn't matter if my quarterback doesn't play well. Hey, as long as he wins. Okay. Well, that line only works if you're the reason they win. With all that being said, the man who's putting together one of the best studios that you can imagine, the king of the giveaways, this guy's Santa in January. He is our guy, Big C, Zander Krause.
What's up, Big Sills? How you doing, brother?
How you feeling today, homie?
I'm feeling pretty good, man. Moving on to the divisional round. A couple takeaways I have from the game that we'll get into, obviously, but you want it to look a little prettier than that, but at the end of the day, you get the win and you move on. You live to see another day. But I'm feeling pretty good overall, Big Sills. We gave away a Quinyon jersey that ultimately turned into an A.J. Owens jersey because of sizing. But I'm feeling pretty good, man. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. What'd you make of that whole scene there with the guy reading his, I don't know, I thought he was reading his memoirs on the sidelines there. And he just started opening up a book. He knew it was a metaphor. And I said it yesterday on the postgame show that it was a metaphor when he was letting everyone know, hey, since they don't need me, I'm going to open up my book and go to chapter 7 where I left off. I highlighted it even. I saw the highlights, and I saw him even start highlighting again there on the sideline. This guy was really engaged in that book.
Yeah, it certainly looked like that. I mean, it certainly came off that way. I did see some people posting out a bunch of stuff that people tagged me in, of him reading in week 5 or 8 or whatever it was. So he's been doing it all year long, I guess. And look, the guy got 1 catch for 10 yards, man. Whether it was a message or not, I'm not really mad at him because I'm of the belief that he's such a good player. We need him to go to the Super Bowl. We need him to win a Super Bowl. Yeah. To not use him in a game in the playoffs, I think is just egregious. I really do. And, I don't know if he was trying to send that message or not. I don't want to go soft on everybody or that, route that Gary went, but he's not wrong about it. I don't struggle with anything like that. So I can't really speak on it from that perspective, but AJ did kind of have a moment a couple of years ago where he spoke about almost taking his own life and some of that stuff. I'm not saying that's tied into it. I'm just saying I think there is an element of people, and again, I don't struggle with this. I have sympathy for those who do, but I can't speak from a personal perspective. I would imagine that those people have a process to try and calm their mind in those moments. And maybe that's it. Maybe it's not it. Maybe it's him being a total diva. I don't know. At the end of the day, get AJ Brown the frickin' ball more, okay? He's a star receiver. Get him the ball. That's all I'll say about it. I don't care that he did it at the end of the day, but look, the perception is certainly 100% what you made it out to be. The perception of how it looks is it doesn't look good. It looks like he's trying to stir up the pot a little bit. He's being a little bit of a drama. That's the perception. I don't know if that's the truth or not. Maybe he does read it every single game. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But I'm not going to make too much of it other than get him the damn ball, man. He's a damn good player. Jaylen Hurts, for all the talk that we have about him, and for all the people who have moved the goalpost, and that's fine. I have too, and I'll acknowledge that later on in this segment on moving the goalpost on Jaylen. That's fine. But if you're going to move the goalpost and say, okay, we just need him to be a game manager and throw for 140 yards and not have any turnovers, then what do game managers do, Sills? Game managers get their playmakers involved in the game. You got a playmaker of A.J. Brown's caliber. I'm not going to crush you for passing yards. I'm not going to crush you for the 2 touchdowns. But get A.J. Brown the ball. It's not that hard. I think it helps your team win the Super Bowl, all right? And that's what I'll say about it.
How'd you think he played yesterday?
Not good. Not good at all.
Why are people coming up with every freaking excuse? I'm not telling you that Kellen called a great game, but you know what he did call? He called a game that won. And that guy's objective is to win games. He's not there to make Jaylen Hurts look better. He's there to win ball games, and he's won 15 of them. You can't have it both ways here where you're doing this. Hey, look, the passing game is just not good, and he has not helped Jaylen. Well, that guy's responsibility is not to make Hurts look good. His responsibility has been brought in to win games and get you to a Super Bowl. That's the number one objective in that huddle. And in his opinion, taking the ball out of his hands and putting it more into the run game, and in that is more on what's going to be a winning formula. Do you understand what he's telling you? He's telling you that AJ's not going to be a major factor in us getting to the Super Bowl because, in my opinion, they have come to the realization Hurts has to make 2 plays, 3 plays a game. But the big plays are not turnovers. They would rather have no touchdowns, in my opinion, passing touchdowns, than have 2 turnovers or 1 turnover in the game. The turnover factor for him is the key component. I can't remember the last time he had a turnover. The touchdowns to me yesterday, they were good. But quite frankly, I mean, he does not utilize that offensive huddle.
No, he doesn't.
I saw those guys using like Allen and Lamar and all these guys that win ball games. And like you've said, even this year, Patrick Mahomes did not have a great year this year, but they win because of him.
Yeah.
You can't keep giving me that line. Well, all Hurts does is win. Well, not. Dude, I thought of all the guys in the offensive huddle, he was the least important guy in the huddle in that game. That's how I saw that.
Well, you're going to bring me to my next point here, all right? And I want you to let me get it out. I got 2 takeaways, okay? I have 2 takeaways right now from the game. I want you to let me say them both before you chime in, because you're going to like one and you're going to not like the other. And many people in here will dislike a different one that you dislike, okay? My first takeaway is this. Jaylen Hurts is the caboose. Silly has been saying that all year, and it's become evident that I don't want to hear about 22. I'm not saying he didn't do it then. In this offense, on this team, in this offense that has a chance to go to the Super Bowl, Jaylen Hurts is the caboose. You could make an argument. I'm not saying this. You could make an argument that Jaylen Hurts is the worst player in the offensive huddle. I think A.J. Brown's a better wide receiver, 1. I think Devontae Smith's a better wide receiver, 2, than Jaylen is a quarterback. I think Saquon Barkley's the best running back in the league. That speaks for itself. I think you have 5 all-pro level offensive linemen in that huddle. And Dallas Goedert shows you what he can do if he gets the ball. So, again, Jaylen Hurts is the caboose. That's my take number 1. All right. My take number 2 is that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. And I'm saying that right now because they continue to defy all of the modern game that we are seeing unfold across all the rest of the league. We keep saying, and you keep being right, by the way, Jaylen Hurts doesn't look good. He doesn't. Like, we all know it. Whether we want to admit it publicly or not is a different thing. He doesn't look like he did in 22.
I'm writing notes down for what you're saying.
Right? He doesn't. This team Chills, think about it. We missed more tackles yesterday than we have since week 4. We had 4 guys on defense miss snaps. We lost Nakobe Dean. A.J. Brown had 10 yards, 10 freaking yards from your number 1 guy. And you beat a playoff team by 12 points, their biggest loss of the year. Like, how does that add up? And what I'm saying is it might not look like I want it to look. It might not look pretty. And yeah, Jaylen Hurts might stink right now. But at the end of the day, this team is built so good that I am actually starting to believe we're really going to win a Super Bowl this way. And we're going to defy everything that is set up in the modern NFL because the running game's too good. The offensive line's too good. And forget, the defense is too freaking good. Nobody can move the ball in this team. We watched one guy move the ball in this defense. One guy, Baker Mayfield in week 4. That was the only time you really watched the quarterback go to work on this defense. I haven't seen it since. Jordan Love was in hell yesterday. Jordan Love went 7 games straight with no interceptions. He came in yesterday and had 3 picks. He was seeing ghosts from everywhere. Vic Fangio had him in prison yesterday. Literally. And if you put all that together, Hurts is the caboose, but who cares? The team might win the damn Super Bowl.
Okay, here's again. Their physical play yesterday knocked 5 offensive starters out. You're not going to look good, and that's not an excuse. That's a reality of what they did because of the physicality of the Eagles. Again, I'm just talking about what happened in the game, and they did. They physically beat them up. And I will agree with you on this with Hurts. What I think has happened during the bye, and it's evolved into where they are, they've created a role for Hurts. He is in a small box role, whereas a year ago, he had a giant sandbox, and they saw what he did in the first 4 games this year, and they saw what he did last year, and they redefined his role. It's more limited. They're not going to lean on him whatsoever. All they want him to do, the most important thing, like I said, and, somebody brought something up earlier. Sills, didn't they define a role for Aikman? Didn't they define a role for Sims? Didn't they make it inside the structure of what they wanted to accomplish, where the quarterback has to submit to it and the quarterback has to live within those roles? Yeah, and live within those limits. Jaylen Hurts is not going to be a guy that's going to throw for over. And there may be a game where you see 275 or 300 yards. But his role is going to be in the room of between 140, 160, 50 yards rushing, and that's who he is. And quite frankly, you've learned to live with it because you've got 15 wins to prove it, because that's what he's been pretty much outside of one off game. And the Steeler game is now becoming, for me, well, that was just an off game where he had a good game. Guys are going to have some good games where he kind of came out of the sandbox a bit. But that kid's not going to be the reason that you win the Super Bowl. And your record, where it is right now, he benefits from that like he benefited from it when he was at Alabama. He's got great players around him. He plays within a role that Nick defined for him, and they're doing exactly what Nick Saban did at Alabama around him. With all those talented players, they're taking a page out of Nick Saban's page of how they coached him, and they kept him in a small box until they got someone better, and they replaced him with Tua. That's what's happened in Philadelphia with him, that they have defined a Nick Saban role for him on his team. And like you said, Zander, if it results in a win, he's basically, in my eyes, Brad Johnson. We talked pre-show about Trent Dilfer, Jeff Hostetler kind of guy. He's one of those dudes, man. But he's not an exceptional player. He's a player that fits the role that they've designed for him. And right now, that formula is working, and you move on and advance. That's how I saw that's how the whole season is played out, and that's where I think he is right now.
Yeah, and I don't think you're far off. Now, I'd ask you this, though, as a follow-up. What is the role? Like, what is the defined role? Because, I was talking to somebody. Wait, I was talking to somebody earlier today about Jaylen and about the game and about the team. And he's like, yeah, Jaylen's a game manager. And I'm like, okay, let me think about this for a second here. Brock Purdy, would you call him a game manager?
A system manager, sure.
Okay.
Brock Purdy they create a system for his skill set.
Yeah, but I don't even know if they did that. I think it's even less than that. I think they're asking him to do even less than you're insinuating. He's not even like, you go into a playoff. Think about this.
Purdy or Hurts?
This is where I'll knock Kellen Moore because
Hurts or Purdy?
About what?
Hurts. You just said Hurts. Oh no, they've defined a role to him where he's got to make 2 or 3 plays in a game that are going to be essential for him to make plays. That's why, like you said, not to have the slant in that game plan was egregious yesterday because there's no way Green Bay could cover it. But I watched something on the 22, Zander. I couldn't believe something that I saw. Dan Orlovsky pointed it out too. And then I went and watched it on the 22. Every single pre-snap guy was covered. And they knew prior to the snap what they were going to do. Do you understand that the coordinators know who Hurts is in the passing game? They know if they stay on their guy for 3 seconds and he's not down in the red zone, Jaylen's going to bail right, and he's going to try throwing on the run. And that's exactly what Green Bay's philosophy was the entire game. All you need is 3 seconds on the cover, and Jalen's going to bail because
haven't we proven, Sills, that even with all those deficiencies, which I don't disagree with, by the way, that we can just win? Like, it doesn't really matter.
Oh, you're a great team.
Huh?
You're a great team.
Yeah. I mean, like, all those things, you're not wrong. Those things all still exist with Jaylen Hurts. We won 15 games. You know what I mean? Like,
that's why they're defining a role.
And now you did it in a playoff game, which I think
is different. Defining a role. They're defining a role.
I just think he's doing even less. Like, I think about game managers and how do you have AJ Brown? If you're a good game manager, what you do is you get the ball to the guys who are dominant.
You're Purdy.
And this is where I'll put on Kellen Moore too, though. How do you let AJ Brown have 10 yards? If I went into halftime in that game, which, by the way, he had his first catch in the first half, how do you not look at the numbers at halftime, come out in that game, you got the ball at the start of the second half with a chance, by the way, to go up 17-0 in the game and really destroy Green Bay? I don't care if it's a jet sweep. I don't care if you hand a ball off to AJ Brown. Get the guy the ball.
Why doesn't Jaylen audible to it then?
That's it. That's another good point. Everybody's ripping it on Kellen Moore, and Dan Orlovsky made this great video, and I watched it. I understand.
Why doesn't he audible?
I'm not saying Kellen Moore had a good plan. I'm not. But early in the season, everybody told me how great it was. Forget early in the season. Yesterday, at the post-game press conference, Nick Sirianni gave Jaylen Hurts credit for checking into the play that Dallas Goedert got a touchdown on. Great. Awesome job by Jaylen. Does he have no other autonomy in the game to call a better route? Does he have no autonomy to call a hot route? Does he have no autonomy if he sees a blitz to say, hot route, AJ, run a slant here.
He does.
I need a quick out.
That's on Hurts.
But again, it goes back to my prior point. We can sit here and talk about Jaylen Hurts all day, all right? Because you're right. I'm with you. I don't think it's pretty. We can win with it. We keep proving we can win with it.
No, you can't win with it. You are winning with it.
Exactly. We are winning with it. And I'm at a point now where I believe this team is going to continue to defy the odds of modern NFL football. And they keep doing it. They've done it all year long. Vic Fangio deserves all the credit in the world for what he's done with this defense because, again, they have been lights out in so many different circumstances. It's hard not to believe in that group. I really think we have a chance to win the Super Bowl with Jaylen Hurts not playing much better. And I said that before the playoffs, and maybe I was wrong yesterday to up my expectation, right? I told you, I'm like, he doesn't have to be that great, and he wasn't that great. Forgive me. I expected a little bit more. I thought the playoffs were here. Jalen's going to take it to a new level. He's going to get the ball out. He's going to throw for some yards in this game. He's going to be a difference maker. Still, she said he made 3 big plays. I can think of one big play where he rolled out to the left and he completed the ball to Devontae Smith.
Goddard play was nice. The Goddard play was good because he did
touchdown play.
The Goddard play he checked into was pretty good.
Yeah, it was good to check into it. He also put the ball 3 yards behind Dallas Goedert. He had to go and get it, and you're lucky he ran so aggressive on that play.
And the only place that I saw him with patience was when he was in the red zone. And he found Dotson in the back of the end zone. The rest of it, I thought it was garbage.
The Dotson play was good. The Goddard play was it was solid. I'll give him the check. I'll give him the check.
5-yard pass. So I mean,
and the Devontae Smith play. The Devontae Smith play, I thought was a nice play by him to roll out left. And
2 or 3 plays in the game.
Yeah.
He's being asked. The rest of them, 39 yards in the first half. He got like 70 or 80 in the second half. He wasn't really asked to do anything in the ball game. And here's what people have to come to the conclusion of. You're right, guys. Hurts doesn't have to be a great player for you to win. He just doesn't have to turn the ball over. And if he doesn't turn the ball over, you're going to be in every game. My question would be this, though. That team is so far away. That team is so close and are a quarterback away from destroying everybody they step on the field with, and your quarterback keeps Green Bay in it. 2 for 11 on third downs.
Yeah.
How do you fucking not put up 45 points on a team that turned the ball over 4 times? How do you not do that?
Look, I don't disagree with you, and because I went into the halftime show and I'm like, to be up 10 right now with 3 Green Bay turnovers in the first half is
then it got to 6.
It's just bad, right? But at the end of the day, that's where I think there's a little lenience here on playoff games where, there's going to be that. There's going to be moments in a game where, you're not able to capitalize every time, or the game just somehow is closer than it should be. That's kind of playoff football.
Yeah, but he's played like that all year.
Yeah, but we keep winning. So what how am I supposed to, look, I think the defense, I think Saquon, I think the offensive line. I think those are the 3 things, right there.
So you think you can beat Detroit like that?
in my heart of hearts, I have a hard time believing that our defense will be able to slow down that number one offense. And then I have a good topic for you, by the way, speaking of that Detroit team. But they continue to defy everything. Like I said, like they continue to do this and win it. If I told you yesterday, that Jaylen Hurts would drop a stinker and A.J. Brown would have 10 yards in the game, would you have thought we would win even after winning 14 games in the regular season?
And four turnovers. I mean,
well, if I told you that, you'd probably say, yeah, you did win, right? But I don't know.
You were 2 for 11, like you said.
He continues to not play great, and we continue to keep winning. So, he continues to prove me wrong. It doesn't feel like we can beat Detroit against them. I mean, shit, I like it. I mean, look, it is what it is. Any given Sunday, go out and bash them, but get Jared Goff off his spot. My fear with that is that, they're going to – Ben Johnson's a smart offensive coordinator. He's going to get Jahmyr Gibbs up against Oren Burks all day. And that would have been a mismatch against Nakobe Dean. It's an even bigger mismatch against Oren Burks, and that dude can run routes. He runs routes like a wide receiver, for crying out loud. So that would be the mismatch there, but I'm sure Vic will shift something. Maybe he runs a little bit of big nickel, brings in an extra safety in there. I don't know
who has the advantage in that game, Ben Johnson or Vic Fangio then?
Well, John always says good offense in the modern NFL beats good defense. And I think in a way he's right because the legislation is that way, right? They've legislated the entire game in the NFL to beat the offense.
That's right.
So you kind of took my topic there, but it's good. I want to ask
the rules are set up for that.
Let me ask you a question, all right? And it's about what we're talking about right here. Who's the best unit left in the NFL? The Eagles defense or the Lions offense? I think those are the two best standalone units.
Lions offense.
You think the Lions offense is better than the Eagles defense?
I do.
Well, then that would be a reason for you to believe that the Lions will win that game.
I do.
If you believe the Eagles off defense, which I believe it is, can slow down that Lions offense. I'm not saying slow them down in a big way, but I did just watch our offense sputter and struggle and still shit themselves into 22 points on the board. So if you can slow them down from 34 to 26.
Let's not forget something about the Packers. They're the third best team in the North. We're not talking about an elite offense. We're talking about a well-coached team that did not play well yesterday and lost a lot of bodies. But that football team was kind of a punching bag to Minnesota and Detroit in that really good division where you had two teams with north of 14 wins play in that division. They're the third best. That would be like saying that the Cowboys, that'd be like you struggling against the Cowboys in that division. I mean, Green Bay was a decent team heading in. Nobody ever thought Green Bay was a Super Bowl contending team. People are not sure about Darnold, but that looks like a pretty damn good roster with Minnesota. But that Detroit offense, and once again, that Detroit offense is balanced. They're number one in scoring. They're in the top 3 in rushing and throwing the ball. And you got a coordinator who's probably the best coordinator defensively and offensively in the NFL this year, who's going to get a massive job, whatever job he feels in Ben Johnson. I mean, bro.
It's a tough matchup. There's no doubt.
Detroit is a 15-win team, and they are the reason why they got home field advantage. Now,
somebody sent a really good super chat this morning, Sills. Do you think the Lions playing the Commanders this week is nice for the Lions, assuming that we play each other in the NFC title game? Because think about it. They're game planning for a dual threat quarterback this week. You know what I mean? It's not that easy to switch. And in a way, I feel like they can take some of those things that they'll run against Jaden Daniels against the Eagles. But again, I like us in the game. I think they're a good-ass team. I do not delegitimize them like I think some Eagles fans do. That offense is freaking legit, man. They move the ball. Jared Goff's on time and on target. He's on the money. Jahmyr Gibbs is probably playing like one of the best top 3 backs in football right now, obviously behind Saquon and Derrick Henry. I think he's number 3 right there. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a beast. He just finds the open space on zone defenses. And, I think, look, I'm with you. I'm awake. Bring it. Bring it on. It's going to be a great matchup, and I'm not saying that you're wrong. I do want to tip my hand. I do want to tip my cap a little bit too to one thing, and that's Jeff Hafley and that Packers defense. I think even bigger than the Eagles winning that game yesterday, I think Jordan Love lost that game for the Packers. Yeah. If you look at that defensive performance by Green Bay to only give up 22 there. When you started on your opening drive at your own 28-yard line, your offense coughed the ball up 4 times, and you give up 22 points to the number 2 seed. And your quarterback, I saw someone say he missed the 4th down throw. You're right, he missed out on the sideline. Maybe they would have went down and scored there. Well, I'm not going to believe it because they had a spot in the red zone that Jordan Love missed 2 throws to wide open guys in the end zone. I mean, the dude choked away so many moments for that Green Bay offense to get back in the game. Every time the Eagles didn't capitalize, I was like, why are you letting this team hang around? Put them away. And then the Green Bay offense couldn't do shit.
Yeah, but I thought what Vic did also in those post-snap coverages too, I thought it confused them. The one pass right to the chest bone of Zach Bond was an indicator to that on how he was doing post-snap. It completely confused the routes for the receivers, and the quarterback wasn't really believing what he was seeing out there. That's a lot to do with coverages also and moving the coverage around post-snap. He did a really great job of doing that last night against that Packer team. He really was exceptional. I thought Vic Fangio, that was his best called game yesterday in the amount of situation and what it meant when it comes to playing in a playoff game. He was just utterly out and out exceptional in that football game. Let me ask you a question here. Who would you rather have as an opponent this weekend? Would you rather have Minnesota or would you rather have the Stafford Rams?
All right, so I'm a little torn right now. But if you're going to make me pick one, which I will do, I'm going to go unconventional here, and I'm going to say the Vikings. All right, and here's why. I just watched the quarterback that we all had questions about come into the playoffs and throw 3 picks for the first time in 8 games, okay? A pick for the first time in 8 games, and he ended up with 3 on the game. They turned the ball over 4 times. I do not believe that Sam Darnold, when the lights are bright, in Philly, will be able to manage and deal with our defense. So I'm not saying the Vikings aren't a good team. I'm not saying they're not going to slow down our offense. I think they will, in fact. I think it'll look a lot similar to the Packers game, where their offense can't get shit going, just like they couldn't get shit going against the Detroit defense in Week 18. And I think they're going to stall. They're going to score 10 to 13 to 16 points somewhere in there, and the Eagles will be able to run the ball and win the game because they're going to walk themselves into 20-plus points like they have all year long. So I'm going to go Vikings there simply because I truly believe you can turn that quarterback to a pumpkin, and even maybe worse than Jordan Love was turned into a pumpkin yesterday. I believe that, and if you look at the Rams, that defense is spotty. Remember, we beat them. Yes, we beat them, but they were very banged up at that time of the year. They're actually one of the few teams that's gotten healthier later in the year going into the playoffs. Yep. And they have a seasoned veteran quarterback that throws the ball to tight windows. And I don't really I'm not saying I don't think we could beat Stafford. I'm just saying if you're going to make me pick, I'm going to take the lesser of the 2 quarterbacks, and that's Sam Darnold.
What if Darnold has a bounce-back game and throws for 350 yards tonight?
Well, then we're going to be talking about Eagles-Vikings all week, aren't
we? But wouldn't that be where, again, remember what I told you? I told you in that there's no question he gagged the big one in that Lions game, but he's never been in this situation before. I completely agree with you on the Vikings. My assessment of the Vikings would be this. Here would be how I would look at them. Darnold, I've said it before, man, and I'll do it again. Darnold, I want to see where you are in these games. You've never been in them. I don't know. Either way, I saw you in one game that looked like it was a playoff game, and you did not look very good. I give you a ton of credit for winning 14 ball games. That's quite an accomplishment because you were one of the engines. Unlike Hurts, you're one of the engines that got you that 14 wins.
Yeah, he is.
So I look at him and I say, that's impressive, but I don't know who he is postseason Darnold. The only thing with the Vikings now, dude, Brian Flores has 3 Super Bowl rings, and he worked with Belichick there in New England, and you're talking about a guy who knows how to scheme up defenses, and that defense with that Van Ginkel kid, they can play. Van Ginkel's also an all-pro guy, and they've got guys that can rush the passer. Their secondary's pretty decent. Flores has one of the top resumes. Let's not forget, he turned that whole situation that around in Miami with winning because of what he brought down from New England. It was never, get this, Zander, it was never Patricia who was the assistant up there. It was Flores, who was the 17-year assistant in New England that was working with Belichick. He was the guy. And I'll say it again. I mean, I think they have more of a balanced roster, but this comes down to the quarterback, man. I mean, I think Kevin O'Connell shows me a lot on what he is as a play caller. I think he's a really good one, but it's going to come down to Darnold. On the Rams, Stafford is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's got a Hall of Fame arm, but he doesn't really have a Hall of Fame resume. Here's a guy that's lost a ton of ball games, man.
Yes,
and recently, since he's been with the Rams, it's changed the narrative around a little bit. And I disagree with John McMullen. You have to ask John one day, man. In 8 years, Sean McVay's won 4 division titles and 2 NFC championships and a Super Bowl. If that's over fucking rated, what is Nick Sirianni?
Yeah,
that's where he is exceptional in the postseason, and he's a great play caller. I do agree with you on their defense. I think their defense is spotty for a reason because they're young at a lot of positions. They're young in the safety position, they're young at a corner, and they're young up front. So to me, I think they've gotten better as the seasons come along, and also I think they're deeper. Their roster is coming along, and so is their offensive game plan. Their running back, that Corinne Williams kid from Notre Dame, he's absolutely had himself a pretty good year. If I were picking what team don't I want to see, it's a tough one here, man, because I think the Vikings have more talent. I think the Rams have more experience, and especially at the coaching position. Remember something. Who did Kevin O'Connell work for? He worked for Sean McVay. So to me, I think it's the Rams that I don't want to see at Lincoln Financial, because do I really think Sam Darnold is going to walk into Philadelphia and win a game? Or do I think Matthew Stafford could go into Philadelphia and win a game? I think Stafford is the only guy that could go in there.
So you're seeing it
win a
more
ball
like
game.
Yeah, you're seeing it more like me, where you'd almost rather play the Vikings even though they have the 14 wins.
Yeah, because I don't know who the QB is. Now watch. The QB can fucking surprise. He's surprised us all year. Okay? They won 14. He can. But I want to see him surprise me again.
Yeah, well, the playoffs are a different story, and the only playoff type game that they've had this year, he shit the bed. So I'm only going off what I've seen. I think both of those matchups are favorable for us. By the way, I think this team is going to the NFC title. I think buckle up, everybody. They're going to win next week in the divisional round. I don't care who you play, and gear up, because I don't anticipate the Washington Commanders, for as great as they've been. And James Jones, I tip my cap to your team, brother. What an amazing, unbelievable turnaround Dan Quinn has done over there in Washington. Jaden Daniels as well. What a special player he's going to be. We're going to be dealing with him for a long time in the city of brotherly love. So I tip my cap to you guys. I do not believe you're going to be able to keep up with that Lions offense. They are a freaking damn good team. You guys are maybe a little bit out. But, hey, James, I said the same thing, too, about you guys going up against the Bucs. Maybe they could upset it, but big sales to me, this looks like Eagles Lions, man. Eagles freaking Lions.
You made
NFC title game for the marbles.
You made a comment about Jordan Love and saying that Jordan Love was the reason they lost that game in Green Bay. You're correct. And I'll make the comment here because I see some people making a comment. Jaylen Hurts was not the reason you won yesterday. Jordan Love is going to be the reason the Packers win or lose. That's not the case with your quarterback. Your quarterback, again, if he plays great, you're not touchable. Okay? If your quarterback has a B game, you're not going to be fucked with.
What would you grade yesterday?
If your quarterback plays C or D+, you keep a team like Green Bay in it.
What would you grade him out yesterday?
D+. No, wait, C. You know why? He didn't have a turnover and he won.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't really see anything where I go like this. That guy's when I'm watching exceptional players, you saw him over the weekend. I don't have to name him. He's not one of them. Okay, when I see exceptional, Barkley's exceptional. Zach Bond. Hey, and I got to say this to you, Zander. This fucking kid, Nolan Smith, was the best player on the field for the Eagles, along with Zach Bond. They were the two best players.
Knocked 2 Packers guys out of the game.
I mean, they were the 2 best. Dude, this goddamn Zach Bond kid, man. I made a comparison. It's a crazy comparison, but I haven't seen a linebacker like that cover like that since Derek Brooks. He's down the field 35 yards covering downfield guys, and he's filling gaps, and he's out in the perimeter. He's getting intercepts. I mean, how's that guy not the defensive player of the year?
I think he should be. He might not get it because
he ain't getting it.
He's like,
yeah. And again, I don't know who would. Who's played to a point where they were so exceptional this year, where you went like this? I mean, Myles Garrett was good. Are you really going to give that to Trey Hendrickson? I don't think so. There was no guy. He had 17 sacks on a shitty defensive line. I'm not giving him that.
Who do you think
in the number one defense? He's the number one defensive football team, and he's the number one inside linebacker right now. I don't know, man. Maybe Pat. Are you going to give it to Patrick Surtain after what Josh Allen just did to that team? I don't know, man. I don't know how you don't give that or make a serious comment for him on being the NFL Defensive Player of the Year. I just don't.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know if we'll get it, but I agree with you, no doubt about it. So we'll see how that plays out. But he's been really impressive, man. And, what kind of impact do you think this Nakobe Dean thing has, man? I thought the way you talked about Nakobe earlier was spot on. I don't think you were too hard on him. I think you were honest and truthful, and it's a reality. It sucks because he was emerging. He finally, I thought, turned the corner on being a viable NFL player. I think he even started to show people like you, Big Sills, like, hey, this guy's not even just a guy. He's like a good player. He's a guy that can make positive plays for a defense, and to have that end like this and with such a gruesome injury that maybe looks like he could miss the start of the 2025 season, it's gut-wrenching. I mean, it sucks for him because I was high on him. I believed in him. I was starting to really believe in him. I feel like he's a good-ass kid, a good-ass dude, which is always an element for me. I tend to root for people too. Not everybody's like that, which is fine, but I like to root for good people, and he certainly seemed like one, but that's a tough one, man. There's no doubt. What kind of impact do you think that has, though, on our defense, for the rest of the playoffs?
I happen to agree with you on almost all you said. Oh, pretty much everything you said there. I mean, he's proven he can play. Okay. Now, one of my things at the beginning of the year about him was health. He played way more football than I thought he was going to play this year. And it's a shame because he was elevating himself week in and week out with the amount of reps he was getting. Remember, he had something like only 273 or 268 reps total as an NFL football player ending this season. And every rep that he got better, and he was getting better and better and better. He was showing quickness. And again, my two things were that I didn't think maybe it was a lack of playing time, and it turned out to be that. Then the other one was obviously they drafted him hurt, was going to be a consistency on whether his health. To me, he reminds me a little bit of Dallas Goedert. Goddard's got the same stuff here. You know what that is? No one's ever questioned Dallas Goedert's ability. Yeah. They questioned his availability.
Right. I agree.
And that's kind of where
how about that run there yesterday? How about that run yesterday by Dallas Goedert?
Man, do you see what's his name, Xavier McKinney, go over and start lecturing the kid, going, "You got to get that fucker on the ground, guy.
Dude, you got to wrap up, man.
Racing like that.
You got to get low and wrap up, man. That's football fundamental 101 right there. Get low and wrap them up."
Yeah. So, I mean, no. And now the impact. See, this is where you have this with Minnesota. Aaron Jones can catch the ball out of the backfield. Now, Kyren Williams can as well, but he's not as efficient because Aaron Jones up in Minnesota did that with the quarterback in New York, Aaron Rodgers. So he's used to that, and they utilize that in the passing game. Plus, you got two exceptional receivers, and let's not forget, Zander, Minnesota's got a damn good tight end up there too. So they got a really good tight end. I think they're going to threaten the seam. This is all going to come down again. If the quarterback can get the ball to all these guys, now you're going to be putting a dude in there in Oren Burke. By the way, kudos to him. He set the fucking tone by knocking that guy out. That's how you start a football game. And I think that's going to give him a little bit of excitement heading into this start. He's going to get the start. I am not starting Trotter, so don't go anywhere near that.
I'm not either. I think that's crazy to even think about it this time. You're the guy that played in the playoffs, played in the Super Bowl last year.
Super Bowl year
ago. Come on, you're going to a veteran guy. This is not, guys. as great as it is, this is not the time to like develop rookies in the playoffs. You take Oren Burks, you coach him up as best you can, and you live with what you got at the depth in the room. Yes. This is not the time to coach up Jeremiah Trotter Jr. on being a linebacker in the NFL. It's just not the time.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a pretty significant loss, but that's going to come down to putting more pressure on the two DTs in front of them.
Yeah, I think the biggest factor
is get more from Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis.
I think the biggest factor is against the Lions, Sills. I think that's the team that not only is the best matchup for taking advantage of that, but they're the one team that will do it. Like Ben Johnson, he will attack that spot. Not every offensive coordinator would do that because sometimes they're just stupid. It's like Kellen Moore. How do you not have a slant to AJ Brown? Who knows? I don't know how you don't have a slant to AJ.
Laporte's a tough cover. Laporte's a tough cover too.
Yes, he is.
Because he's a pretty good tight end here.
I think he's more than pretty good. I think he's really good. Sam
Laporte. What'd you make of Kellen Moore's day yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm hard on Hurts. I don't think Hurts was great, but I can't sit here and tell you Kellen Moore was great. I think there's an element to me being 100% transparent with everybody. There's an element to me that wonders if some of his passing concepts are the way they are because he feels limited by the quarterback. I don't know if that's true or not. It might not be. I'm not saying he called a good game. I'm not saying he's doing a good job. I'm not saying he's implementing nearly enough of the things Jaylen is good at or has been good at in the past. But, he didn't have a good game, but Jaylen hasn't had a great game passing all year long. He hasn't been a great passer all year long. And the only time he did have to pass a lot, we were 2-2 in that 4-game stretch. So I think to Kellen, to the point about Kellen, did he have a good game? No. Is there a potential that that's somewhat on Jaylen Hurts? I think maybe some of it potentially is on him, but overall, no, I don't think Kellen Moore had a good game. And Nick Sirianni, I mean, in a rare instance of brutal honesty, after the game, he was asked about what he thought on the team's offensive performance, and he said, not good. We got to get back to the drawing board. So I don't know if their game plan was just poor coming in. I don't know if Kellen Moore was focused on interviewing for the New Orleans Saints or the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know what went on, but Kellen Moore didn't do a good job. Jaylen Hurts didn't do a good job. And because of that, I would say the head coach didn't do a good job. So those are three things that all need to be better. I'm not singling one of them out, but I'm also not letting one of them off the hook. Dan Orlovsky, like I said, he made this video, and everybody's acting like, okay, this is it. Jaylen doesn't need any blame. Guys, more than one thing can be true. Not a great game by Kellen Moore, not a great game by Jaylen Hurts. Both of them should improve, but maybe they won't even need to improve, and here we'll be marching our way to a freaking Super Bowl.
Well,
I don't know, Stills. It always looks shitty, and they always win. I don't get it.
What I'm going to say is that, if people want to give excuses for Jaylen Hurts, you have to give excuses for Kellen Moore. They're tied at the hip. You can't. They're both tied at the hip, and they've both won 15 ball games. You got to get over yourselves. You just can't keep shitting on one guy and pick a narrative to fit your narrative when both the results are the same. One guy's the coordinator's won 15, the quarterback's got 15. You can't just fucking separate and go, well, that's nothing to do with it. That's not true. Okay. What do you make of this, Dom?
I got to run in a second, all right? Because I got to get some production done.
Okay, this is the last one here. We'll get the supers if you don't mind, Zander.
Yeah,
here.
We got to be quick.
How about this, brother? Here's his 3 wins in the postseason. 13-21 for 131 yards, 2 touchdowns versus the Packers. This was yesterday. 49ers. He was 15-25 for 121 yards, no touchdowns. And he was against the Giants. These are his wins. 16-24 for 154 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. So what do you make of those numbers?
That he's the caboose, like you said. And by the way, credit again to Howie Roseman, who is by far, in my opinion, the best GM in football. I know there's some other good guys out there who have done a really good job, but most of those other GMs that have done a good job have a pretty damn good quarterback. And you maybe Howie missed on the quarterback. Maybe it was a Jeffrey Lurie. I don't know. But he built a roster that you don't need a quarterback to play well. There's no other team in the league that can say that.
I've never heard of the thing.
Huh?
I've never heard of anything like that.
I know. It's amazing. So I'm giving Howie all the credit. And look, that's what Jaylen is this year, guys. 22, he was not the caboose. 22, he was electric. 22, he was MVP level. 22, he moved the ball. 22, he was decisive and quick. 22 was a different quarterback. Jaylen Hurts in 2024 is the caboose of this offense. There's no doubt about that. And I don't say that with any breath of hate in me. So you can't say I'm not a hater. I'm just calling it out. This offense is so good, you don't need your quarterback to be great at all. That's pretty wild. Howie Rosen deserves some credit for that. For sure.
He surely does. No question. Yeah. Let's get to the supers, brother.
Let's do it. Ramir checks in. Every game ain't about flashy numbers. Baker had a great game, but his one fumble lost him the game every time the Packers got close. Hurts got his points. Yeah, Ramir, he still left a lot of money on the table, though. Don't you agree?
Don't you think he should have blew that team out with 4 turnovers? I mean, the Eagles should have – that. I agree with Tom Brady. I thought the game was 75-0. I looked up, it's 10-0, and then it became a 6-point game. They dominated. They completely out-dominated that game except on the scoreboard, and the quarterback kept them in it.
Yeah, no doubt. Lord's Grace checks in. A.J. Brown turned into LeVar Burton from Reading Rainbow. He wanted to read to the children. I don't know what that is.
Hey, man, all I know is this guy's checking books out. They're at Parkway Library, bro. I mean, holy cow, this guy's got a library card, and he's breeding Confucius on the sidelines to get inspired.
Look, here's my guy, Underdog. Underdog, I appreciate you, brother. He says, Jaylen Hurts is trash, period. Fuck how that fact makes his sack ropers feel. Go cry. Yeah, but Underdog, I don't entirely disagree with you. I like him a little bit more than you. I mean, I think he does have some
he does
commendable things. But, like, bro, do you not agree that this team just every week he doesn't look great, and every week we win? Like, we just beat a playoff team by double digits, and he barely did shit. Like, we don't need look, we could potentially win without an elite quarterback.
Do you know, Zander, if they don't win the tsunami that's coming? Do you know the tsunami that's coming? Let me say
this. Do you agree it depends how they lose? Like, let's say they lose 34-31.
Say he plays like he did yesterday and they lose. A tsunami's coming.
I think a tidal wave. I don't know what's bigger, a tsunami or a tidal wave?
A tsunami, baby, because it wipes out an entire city.
All right. Well, let's get a tsunami then. That's what's coming.
It'll be a tsunami.
If you lose 34-1 in a shootout.
Okay, right. And he throws for 275 yards.
Right. You tip your cap to the other team and you move on.
You move on. I got it.
Yeah, Underdog followed up. Aikman took a roster very similar to this and parlayed it into a dynasty. Well, Jaylen Hurts is not that, so not happening. One more I think we missed earlier. Jason A-Team, Nolan Smith, elite. He is elite.
I tell you what, he was elite yesterday, man, and he continues to improve. And he is, like Vic says, his issue is going to be size. But I really liked what Nick said today, after the game about him. He says he's a physical dude, man. You know, he plays bigger than he is. That's a really great quality to have in a player, man.
All right, Sills, I got to run, brother. I appreciate
you. Brother. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. You got it. Make sure you guys please hit that like button. No question about it. By the way, we'll give you our thoughts on tonight's game, too.